Welcome to the channel, Exploration Day. Today we are fitting side steps on the cab of our T-Line 740. We've started fitting the driver's side bracket that holds it together. Unfortunately, we're on a crossover year and the bracket that we fitted was from the year before, so we had some issues with fouling on the side part here. We've just received the updated brackets and we're going to fit them now. When you open the box, you receive washers, bolts, all the fixings necessary to install the bracket that then holds the step. Because the bracket's only over a short area, it really is sturdy. It's not like ones on panel vans where you get any flex or deflection in them. So, two-part installation. First of all, you need to install your bracket, which holds the step, and then install the step onto the bracket. I'm going to go ahead and fit it to this one and we'll check back with you shortly. So that's the driver's side step fitted. Not too many obstacles. I did that one off camera so I could figure it all out, make sure I got it right. We'll go around the other side and I'll show you what I did on this one and how easy these are to fit. Okay, so we're around the passenger side. We're going to install it the same that I've done the other side, and I'm going to show you a more in depth of how you fit it. So the first section is going to be bolting this bracket to the sill underneath the door. So to do that, there's 3 holes along the top which we're going to put nuts, washers and bolts through the sill and bolt that up. So I'm going to offer this up, I'm going to clamp it in place using some clamps just so that we get it exactly where we want and mark the holes. I'll then remove it and drill the holes. I do need to level this up now. They say to do it by eye. Obviously, depending on how much weight's in the vehicle, it's going to sit differently and it just needs to look right. So we're going to go off eye. So it does mean that it's not exact, there's not an exact location, but there is plenty of movement in the actual step to be able to relocate that. So this doesn't have to be exactly in a certain spot. I've clamped that in place now, I've had a look, I've altered it slightly, it's as level as I think that I need it to be. So the 3 holes that I showed you at the top of the metal plate, I'm now going to mark with a small drill bit before then taking this back off and drilling through with the 6mm. Okay, that's marked. I'll take this off and then we can drill it. They're the holes that we've just marked through, so the 3 across the top here, and that's sitting on the outside of the sill, so outside of the vehicle, not on the inside. So whilst I've got this off, I can explain the next step after this part that we're doing. So once this is bolted to the sill, obviously that will be held there, and any weight put here would cause sort of a pendulum effect. So the way that this is counteracted in the design is that it has one of these feet, I'm calling them feet, which is bolted into this eye here, which then creates a locking force. So as you push down here, this can't rise up because these on both sides go to the chassis, and they're fitted direct into the chassis with self-tapping bolts. So I'll get this on and then we'll move on to this stage. Okay, so 3 holes are drilled in the sill, which will correspond with the holes in the bracket. So now we'll bolt this onto the sill and then we'll move on to that other part that I was talking about. Just for reference as well, all the bags that they've sent with the components in, the small little bags, all the parts for each mechanical fixing are in there with a label on, so really straightforward. So at this point, with all the tools to hand prepared inside in our workshop here, this took around 12 minutes to get to this point. Okay, so that's all 3 bolts with the small washer pushed through the bracket. I'm now going to put the larger washer on the thread from behind and doing it with the bolt. at first you want to do this quite loosely, just so that you've got the ability to move it slightly whilst you're getting the leg parts on. Tighten it all up when you're happy at the end. The rear nut is a 10mm nut, so a 10mm spanner, and the front I think is, yeah, it's also a 10. You could do this with just spanners, but it's a lot easier with a socket set. So the reason behind buying these, we've bought these, they weren't given to us for free to do the review. We've actually bought these. It's something we've been researching for a while, and the reason behind it is quite a substantial drop from these cabs, and in my other vehicles that I've got side steps on, you sort of get used to that. So then jumping out of the van, all of a sudden it looks like you're falling down a hole. So my partner also, she's got issues with her knees, and doesn't feel comfortable to get in and out of this door at all. But if you're just pulling into a shop, or you're at a seaside and you want to jump out onto the curbside, ours is a European spec habitation, so our door is on live traffic side. Having this step and being able to utilise this door from a safety point and just ease of use, you've got a door there, you want to use it. So if you're struggling with accessibility into your cab and out of your cab, then make it accessible. These are the steps you need. Yeah. Okay, so another point that I'd make, if you're buying these steps for yourself and you're looking at fitting them yourself, and you're wondering whether you can or you're capable, or if you're worried about fitting them, I wouldn't necessarily be worried. I think as long as you've got the tools that you need to do it and you've got plenty of time to do it in, you will be fine. I think probably the most difficult part is obviously putting the bracket there, clamping it in place so that you've got things level. That's the most difficult part of this process, which, take your time. As long as you're happy and it's sitting how you want it to sit, it's not going to change as you go further down the process. That part, when you've got it clamped in, that's where it will be at the end. So there's no surprises. But if you don't feel confident to do it, give them a shout at Motorhome Steps. But I'm sure that they've got links within the industry and they know places where you could take yours and have it fitted. Okay, so once again, it's not over tight yet. I'm just holding it in place till I get everything together, then I'll tighten it all up. Good a time as any, hit the subscribe button. We're having fun starting making these, the channel's new, we could do with your help. Hit the subscribe. Let's get our numbers up. Brackets now on, loosely fitted, still a bit of movement so that we can get these parts fitted correctly behind. These I'm going to bolt on with some bolts, washers and nuts. I'm going to leave them so that they're free and loose on the back of the bracket, so I can then get under there, flip these up to their position of where they're going to be and mark where they're going to go into the actual chassis. Go with the pilot hole first, small 4mm, then put your stitching bolt through. Yeah. Okay, I'll take you down so you can just have a look. There's a bracket in place with the bolts. The bolts are running through the sill. And then over here at the back, we've put the arm that goes back up in with the bolts there, and that's just loose at the moment, so I can just push that round. Once I've got all that done, I'll take the camera underneath and I'll dig the torch out of the van, and I'll show you exactly where these are bolted to, and I'll show you the view from under the van looking back out this way. Okay, I've put the legs, we've bolted those on already, I showed you that. I've now bolted the tops of those legs that I showed you underside of the motorhome. So all this is in position now. I'm quite happy with it. I'm going to go around and tighten everything up. Okay, the last set of bolts that I've just done up, I've used a 14mm socket, 14mm spanner. Put the step on and we'll give it a go. This is the underside. It comes preloaded with your mounting bolts which slide along the rail. So when I said earlier about not worrying about the exact positioning, that's because you have got some lateral movement in the step to be able to find that perfect position once you've fitted it. As we are now, you have got some movement backwards and forwards as well as left and right. So I want to make sure that I'm really clear of the wheel. So I'm going to come back slightly, and I think somewhere around there. I don't want to push it all the way in because it sits behind the sill, and I want as much real estate for your foot when you're walking in. So I'm going to bring it as far forward as it'll go. Back to the bags again, so label clearly, nuts, washers for step 2 bracket. Once again, like I did with the bracket, I'm going to put all these on loose first, make sure it's exactly where I want, and then I'll tighten them from opposite corners to make sure that we don't get any movement. Quite happy with that. Like I said, in a few, probably 2 or 3 days, 4 days time, I'll go around and just check all these nuts to stay in exactly where I want them to be and they're still tight. I'll take you underneath and show you where I've put all these fixings. Okay, so here we are under the van. There's the sill with the bracket that I've bolted through. There's the bolts at the top. The middle one I've put the cap on. There you can see the bolts coming through to the nuts with the washers. We've then got the framework joined here and behind it, and if I flip the camera up slightly, they're bolted into the chassis. We're now over at the site in Wales and we've had a chance to test out the steps. We're really happy with them. They're rock solid and they're helping us both get in and out of the cab as we thought they would. Highly recommended. Hit the subscribe button, as next we're going to be taking the Engway Engine 2 Pro bikes round Lake Bala, including Boy Our Dog in the Inner Pet Sport Pet Carrier. If you're looking to get a set of steps for your motorhome, check the description, visit www.motorhomesteps.com and use our code to get a discount.